Cigar boxing, what's going on out there? As I always say, at the end of the day, all we are what? Fans. What's going on? It is fight week for Andy Ruiz versus Anthony Joshua for the WBA, WBO, IBF, and IBO heavyweight championships of the world. This is probably one of the most anticipated fights of the year. A lot is on the line here. I don't know how y'all feel. I am excited. It is fight week. They are fighting in the desert out there in Saudi Arabia. So I've waited for my prediction. It's a lot of variables in here. I've watched all the tape. Like I said, I'm not an expert. All I am is a fan, a guy who likes boxing and cigars. So let's get into it. Let's get into this smoke. Let's look at this fight. First, let's talk about the implications of what happens if either fighter wins. If Andy Ruiz Jr. retains the titles, we are a step closer to getting the undisputed champion and possibly a fight with Deontay Wilder. Then we will have one champion, one face. If Anthony Joshua wins, what's next? Both the fighters have mandatories, and I forget who their mandatory is. Kubra? I think so. But the thing about it is, I think if AJ wins, we are a few steps away from getting the undisputed champion. I don't think it's closer. With a Ruiz win, I think it is closer, and we could possibly get an undisputed champion. But looking at this fight, there are a lot of thoughts, a lot of strategies, a lot of things going around. Here's always been my thought on this fight, and looking at the first fight and kind of what I'm seeing. First off, let me say this. Anthony Joshua, I think, has been a different fighter since the fight with Vladimir Klitschko. After that fight, even though he got knocked down, he has been more cautious. Some of us can say what we want and say that Anthony Joshua doesn't have a chin and different things like that. He has to have a chin to get to the point that he's at. I'm not saying it's rock solid, but this man won a gold medal in the Olympics. Okay, folks? He has to have some type of chin. He does have some type of boxing ability. He has to have boxing technique to get to this point. So, some of us are ready to write off Anthony Joshua. You better think twice. Okay, let me say that. As far as Andy Ruiz, and same thing. Andy Ruiz is not a scrub, and he's never been a scrub. He's a nightmare for anybody he fights, simply because of his fight style. He has fast hands, and to tell you the truth, out of all the heavyweights right now, he probably has the fastest hands. So he is dangerous, and he hits hard. People forget that he took Joseph Parker almost to death. Anthony, as far as Andy Ruiz, is an enigma. His style is not easy to deal with no matter who you are. And he gave Joseph Parker a run for his money. Joseph Parker almost lost the title that night, for those of us who, watch boxing. So let me say, it's a lot of things going on here. I think Anthony Joshua has become more cautious. He may have overlooked Andy Ruiz. He may have overlooked him, but that's still no excuse. There are still lapses in AJ's defense, and he boxes a little awkward with all the extra muscle. With the weight loss between these two fighters, how do you look at the fight at this point? Does the weight play a factor at this point? Well, here we go. Looking at all the fights between the fighters, let me start with the former champion in Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua definitely has lapses in defense, but Anthony Joshua's style, he's been getting away with a lot because of his height and size. He could have fought better, but at that point, I don't think he could have, in my opinion. I think we hear the rumors of concussion before the fight. Maybe, maybe not. We've seen the black eye. I think it's true, but still, he looked the same in certain parts, and there are certain things. With him slimming down, first thing it tells me is he is planning to go the distance. He's going to be very mobile in this fight, in my opinion. This will be the first time you'll see Anthony Joshua fight this style. I think he's looking for the straight right and double jab, and then try and get Andy Ruiz with the left hook like he did in the first fight. But being mobile, controlling distance is the key for Anthony Joshua in this fight. And going down the stretch, see if Andy Ruiz tires and has big lapses in defense and allows him to do what he wants to do in this fight. That is a strategy, in my opinion. And we'll see if Anthony Joshua can pull that off. Now, Andy Ruiz is going to fight pretty much the same. The only difference is I think Andy Ruiz is a little faster with losing the weight. And here's the key. There's two keys to the whole fight, in my opinion. Two keys. Right now, I believe that Andy Ruiz is better at closing the distance, okay, and measuring. And he's a more precise puncher than AJ, in my opinion. I think AJ is out of position a lot of times when he throws his big punches because of those massive muscles he has. And even though he slimmed him down, he's still going to be out of position, okay? With that, also, I don't think AJ is able to clinch. Any big heavyweight that's beat a really good shorter heavyweight or shorter fighter has a good ability to clinch. Look at Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis may have had, some say a glass jaw, but he is a master at clinching. And it's the same thing with Klitschko. Klitschko is a master at clinching. You have to have that down in order to beat some of the shorter good guys. Because styles of a shorter guy, especially with him being fast, can cause problems. I don't think he has that down. I think Andy Ruiz is going to be faster on his feet. I think out of the two, just toe-to-toe throwing each blow, I think Andy Ruiz punches harder. Okay? And here's the key. It will be a short night if Anthony Joshua tries to exchange with Andy Ruiz. In their fight, the one thing I noticed is AJ was not ready for the multiple shots that came back at him. Okay? Once he got hit, or he threw a punch, he had lapses in defense and didn't cover up, and he was getting tore up. I expect the same, but I expect more body shots from Andy Ruiz in this fight. And if everything is on the up and up in this fight and no craziness, I believe that Andy Ruiz is going to knock out Anthony Joshua this time. Won't be a whole bunch of getting off the canvas. He will be out this time, because I think Andy Ruiz is going to go to the body early, and with Andy Ruiz being thinner, it'll be harder for AJ to try and clinch, because even when Ruiz was clinched in the first fight, he was punching. His hands keep going, and I think it's a stylistic nightmare. Just like Roy Jones said, I think that Anthony Joshua should have took another fight before this one and didn't rematch immediately. I think that Anthony Joshua knocked him down, but Ruiz wasn't hurt. I think the style matchup is what I'm having a problem with in this fight. And I have Andy Ruiz winning by knockout. Okay? Again. But this time I think it'll be a little quicker, because I think Andy Ruiz is going to go to the body. And I think as AJ gets a little more frustrated in the fight, he's going to take more risks, and Andy's going to light him up. And anybody who's watched Andy over the years knows that Andy is not somebody who just takes a punch and just cowers in the corner. He lets his hands go, and that's what he's trained to do. He is a stylistic nightmare for anybody who gets in the ring with him. I think AJ's power is good, but it's not as good as people think it is. And Joseph Parker will tell you that. He also has Andy Ruiz winning this fight. I think we're bringing the championships back to America. I'm not riding out anything. But here's a question I pose to you. DAZN loses a lot of money if Anthony Joshua loses. It may be some cuckoldry and some buckfuckery on this one. Because if this fight ends on some type of controversy, or it goes to the cards and they're not giving Andy rounds and all this bull crap, I'm telling you, it's some fuckery. I don't want one of the biggest fights to end that way. That's why I want it to end on a knockout. Okay? Even if AJ, and it's a possibility, he can knock out Andy Ruiz. But I don't think so. Stylistically, he doesn't match up. One of the things that the biggest problem I have with AJ is with him being so heavy, he has no lateral movement and doesn't move his head. He's a target. Andy Ruiz punches very precisely, and people need to really go back and look at these tapes. He's a stylistic nightmare for AJ. AJ's a little stiffer, not as fluid, and he doesn't control the distance, and he doesn't clinch. And Andy Ruiz's hands are always going, always moving, and that's a nightmare. And I don't think AJ can change his style of boxing that quickly. So y'all tell me what you think, but I got Andy Ruiz winning the fight by the 5th. Because I think the weight drain from AJ is going to hurt him. Because your punch resistance when you lose weight goes, so Andy Ruiz, same thing. But I don't think AJ punches as hard as everybody thinks he does. So y'all tell me what you think. The belts are coming back to America. And still, heavyweight champion of the world, Andy the Destroyer Ruiz Jr. All right, I'll see y'all Saturday at 2:30, man. Later.